Hello, parents and families. It's lovely to see many of you again. And if you haven't joined us yet, my name is Jonathan Moss, and I serve as one of the associate directors for new student and family programs here at Duke University. And we are super delighted to have you joining us today. And we cannot believe that move in and the fall semester is just about to start, just a few weeks away. So we're excited that you're here joining us this evening in preparation for that. Today, we have campus partners from Duke Police and the Dean of Students Office, and they're going to share some important relationship information that Duke has with the city of Durham and ways that your student can remain safe while on campus at Duke and in the surrounding community. Before we get started, as always, we have a few little housekeeping items to walk you through your screen. So at the bottom of it, you will see a Q&A function that has been enabled for you at the bottom of your screen. Because of this, the chat has been disabled. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop those in that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout this webinar. Some of those questions may be answered either via text, or we might decide to answer some of those live at the end once all of our presenters have finished presenting today. Lastly, this webinar is recording, so if you hear something and you want to go back or you want to share it with another parent and family member, feel free to do so. Just give us about 72 business hours to put that up on our website and our YouTube channel. So with that being said, it's time to hear from Duke Police and our Dean of Students Office. So we have Tiara here today and Captain Greg. Hey Tiara, hey Captain Greg. Thanks for joining us.
Hey,
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yes. So let's just go ahead and Tiara, if you want to get us started, if you will just kind of give us a little welcome, tell us about yourself and then your role here at Duke University.
I sure will. Hi, everyone. My name is Tierra Beck Scott, and I am one of the Associate Deans of Students here in the Dean of Students Office. Specifically, I'm the Director of Crisis Response and Risk Management. My role has the lovely gift that I sit very closely with our team members that are a part of the Duke Reach team and the conduct team. We work very closely to ensure that students have the supports that they need at different points of time, be that in moments of crisis or even just additional supports as they're trying to navigate getting connected and figuring out this thing called Duke. It's a lot to learn and figure out when you are transitioning in the ways that they are. So I get to work very closely with that team. Specifically in my role, I am responsible for a couple processes that we'll talk about a little later within the talk, but the Dean of Students, Dean on Call process, which is a partnership between our deans and our residence coordinators for an after hours and after hours, overnight, and on the weekend supports for students in need when the university is closed for business. And in addition to that, I support a group known as A Team, which is our large scale celebration group that supports risk mitigation to make sure that our students are able to have safe, enjoyable experiences across campus. And I also get to partner a good bit and support our emergency management when we have severe weather and other things like that. And I get to work very closely with Captain Stotts on our student threat assessment as well.
thanks, Tierra. Hey, I'm Captain Greg Stotzenberg, or Captain Stotts if that's easier. I've been at Duke a very long time, not quite as old as the Gothic Stones, but I've been here for about 28 years, and I really enjoy Duke. Duke Police has the wonderful privilege of protecting campus and the surrounding community around campus. We patrol 24/7 on campus. We've got our own communication center. We'll be out on in patrol vehicles, on foot, on patrol bikes, and other types of utility vehicles. And in my current role, I'm the captain over the investigations unit as well as crime prevention, and have lots of different hats I wear. I work with the student behavioral assessment team, work with the on-call deans, and anything and everything. I kind of worked my way into a student liaison or student affairs liaison in my current role, and have had so many wonderful experiences at meeting folks and keeping campus safe.
Perfect. Thank you both for introducing yourself. And it sounds like the two of you have lots of different responsibilities here in your position here at Duke. So that kind of leads me into our next question to kick us off tonight. We often talk about Duke, taking a team or holistic approach to student safety and support. Could the two of you expand maybe in greater detail about how your office and your role work with other units on campus to support student safety?
Yeah, I'll start. My office, the team that I work with, the Dean of Students office, we look at our students, they are whole people, right? As much as they're all of the work that they are doing in the classroom, there is so much happening outside of that space. So we are definitely a group that is partnering across the university, dependent on the needs that the students have. There are often times, for example, there are times where, in the case of your students that will be coming very soon, they are transitioning to this campus and they are maybe navigating some difficulty, transitioning to the type of studying that's required. So they may be falling a little bit behind in class. That's a notification that our team would get, and we would reach out to the student and see if there's anything that we can help them with. Would they like support getting connected with the ARC, our academic resource center? Would they like a connection with their academic dean if they have not connected with them yet? So we work to partner with different folks across campus to make sure that students, when they are in need, be it for academic reasons or personal reasons, we support them through that process. We often partner regularly with our friends in CAPS, which is our counseling and psychological services team. My team, one of the teams that I work really close with that I'm a part of, is Duke Reach, which is how we get a lot of our notifications from folks that things are going on. Through Duke Reach, you can submit reports anonymously or otherwise, stating concerns about individuals, and our team is alerted of that, which usually prompts that outreach. We work really closely with our partners in residence life, athletics. Pretty much, if there's a person on campus, our team is partnered with them and works with them regularly to solve problems and help our students figure out how to navigate these things so that, if it were to happen again, they know the steps and the people to connect with and talk to. So we try to be a great campus partner to those around us.
Yeah, for us, it's the same thing, right? Like, so we're very well attached to student affairs, but our partnerships don't just stop there. We're working on campus with employee relations and HR, facilities, and we're always better as a team. And just one example of how we respond together, with our student behavioral assessment team. We work side by side with mental health counselors, with people in the Dean of Students office, with residential life to help assess and support a student in crisis. And so a lot of people, when they think of campus police, they think of, enforcing underage alcohol and trying to solve larcenies. Well, we do that, but we also work a lot with education and trying to get the student, even if they've maybe crossed the line, violated a community standard, done some type of minor crime, 99% of the time, we're not charging them. We're referring them to student conduct. We're working with them. And we're all communicating. We're all trying to, okay, if I know about him being found in the dorm, drinking this and this, what's going on over here? And how can we engage this person to get them to be successful? And so a lot of our partnerships are with student affairs regarding students. Outside of Duke, we're well connected with the Durham police and the surrounding agencies, including state and federal. And so when those larger, big, more safety concerns come up, with very quick response for our communication center or several of us contacting key individuals, we'll have that support function from Durham Police, Durham Fire. And so we're constantly doing training with them, cooperating with them. And so we have that strong partnership as well there.
Perfect. Thank you both. I love that the two of you touched on talking about the student as a whole person. Obviously academics are a large, important part at Duke, but there's so much else that can affect a student's health as well. I know, Tiara, you talked a lot about mental health as well and physical health, and Captain Stotts about, just being a well-rounded student and being supported both on campus and in the community. So thanks for that. Similarly, so what sort of messaging do each of your offices kind of share with students regarding their well-being and safety while they are on Duke's campus and they're a student at Duke?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Tiara, I had this on the tip of my mind is something I was going to add. So on our Duke Police website, specifically under the boundary of outreach and safety, we have so much great safety information and communication, and lots of good links. There's an app that Duke bought a number of years ago called Live Safe, and there's a video on how to use it on our website. And this is an app that does such a great job about it has the Duke buses GPS right on a map, so a student doesn't have to wait out by a bus stop. They can just go look on the Live Safe app and know when the bus is pulling up. It's got share a walk. It's got all kinds of resources. They can text a call to our communication. The best way to get a hold of us, so if you dial 911 on campus, it's going to take you to the cell tower and then probably to Durham Police. So on our website, as well as I'll give it here, if you call our main number 24/7, it's 919-684-2444. That gets a communicator 24/7 who then can dispatch security or police depending on what the need of the call is. But if you go to that section of our website, there's lots of good resources. There's active shooter videos, how to respond to armed intruder, and there's lots of crime prevention videos. And if I was to ask a survey of folks on the call, what's the number one crime on campus? Pause for your thoughts. Is theft of property unattended. And so, how to keep your property, you may think you're only going to get some food for a second, but how to secure your property and those kind of things. So, with lots of good resources there.
Absolutely. As far as messaging, that was the question, correct? Messaging for students, or our messages for students?
Yes, that was correct. While they're on campus, for their well-being and their safety.
Yeah, absolutely. One that comes to mind pretty quickly is we recognize this is a moment of growth for all of them. They are making a big transition in life, and they are going to experience a lot of new things as soon as they arrive here for XO. And XO is a great opportunity to begin building their community and finding that network and figuring out some of the individuals that might be support system when things are happening for you. Getting connected is really, really important, or at least having the ability to identify who are the people that are around when I need support. There will be so many people that they interact with over the course of that first week while they are here. And there will be a number of resources that are shared with them. And there will be moments that will be challenging, but we are here to support them. And we would rather they interact with us early than when, we are in a moment of crisis. So feel like it's never too soon to reach out. Like you are not bothering us. They will like we want to know you. We want to know who your students are. We want to make sure they're connected, and that early intervention is some of the best ways that we can support your students. So making them feel like as awkward and scary as that can be, like there are resources here, there are people here, and we want to engage with you and don't feel like you can't reach out in those spaces. Another message I would add to that is like it shows a sense of maturity and self-awareness when you can do some of that outreach on your own, or like I need help. We talk about it a lot here, a little bit of that in imposter syndrome, and also a lot of our new students that are coming in, they were the number one top of their class, and now they're joining a class of everyone was the top of their class. So there's going to be times where you might feel a little insecure about your standing in that. And that is not unique to them, that everyone goes through that. And we want them to know that, there are a number of guardrails in place to help our students get acclimated and oriented to this place and to take advantage of those resources. And if they feel stuck and not knowing where to go, come talk to us. We would love to help can make those connections to our different partners on campus for the many ways that students can get connected across the space.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think you kind of answered your second part for the next question of talking about how can students take care of themselves and their community. It sounds like a lot of that, Tier, from your perspective and your work is to start having those conversations with your students now to
Yeah.
also get connected. They can familiarize themselves with the resources that you all, of course, parents and families are learning about now. And many of us will also be around during move-in day and family weekend. And so that's a great place for you and your students to meet us and the staff members here, the Duke Police and the Dean of Students office, and just say hey to kind of break down those barriers.
Please say hi.
That's the fun part of the job.
Yeah.
And then Captain Stotts, kind of, I know you talked about one of the number one crimes on campus is unattended theft, or property that is unattended being stolen. Could you kind of help parents and families start their conversation with their students now of like, what do their students need to do to kind of prevent that and start to take care of themselves as soon as they arrive on campus in a few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm right there where you guys are. I just sent my son off to college last year. Of course, he's returning again. And even though he's the child of a law enforcement officer and he thinks he knows everything he needs to do, we still had those conversations. I think one of the things I try to remind people, and it usually happens after they get here and after 3 or 4 months in, they've made all a bunch of friends and they're all having fun and they forget that Duke is very safe, but it's within the boundaries of a middle-sized urban area. And so, just like in any place, you can't assume that there's large walls up and gates keeping people out. Although we have lots of preventive strategies, you got to kind of take safety your own responsibility. And so we have a video on our website about it's a shared responsibility, and that just means being aware of your surroundings, just like you would do in any medium to large size city. If you're going to go out at night, let someone know where you're going. If it's really late at night, maybe go with friends or a few other individuals. Keep your cell phone charged up. All those good standard things that someone should do, especially if you're in a new environment, because we call it the walls of Duke. So East Campus has this little 3 foot wall, but something about the psychology of the freshmen, they're like, oh, everything inside that wall is safe. And so, yes, and generally it is, but also just being aware of your surroundings. And then as to your property, there's lots of good things you can do ahead of time. There's so much as far as, one, keeping it secure or having someone watch your property that you trust, but writing down your serial numbers ahead of time. A lot of people have the find phone features, have those kind of things that you can track if need be. A lot of our cell phone recoveries, when we do have them stolen, they're being sold back in these resale vending machines, and they're really good about it. Like we track them on the with the Find My Phone and get them right out of the machine. So just kind of paying attention to what your property is, locking your doors, all those good standard things. Yep.
Jonathan, I think another message I would name is just, it feels like something obvious, but it's something I think we should name is see something, say something like that. We have to, if they see something, they have to, they should tell us because that is how we find out a lot of what's happening. And that's how we can support in the ways that are appropriate and are necessary. Like I mentioned before, our Duke Reach, reporting system. If you don't feel comfortable putting your name on it, it can be submitted anonymously. We ask that people do put their names on it because that's how we can support and do outreach to the individual that's submitting the report to make sure that they have what they need and the resources that would be helpful. But it is an anonymous resource that can be used if someone doesn't feel comfortable putting their name on the actual report. But that is such a key thing around here is to make one way to protect yourself is to make sure you are protecting the rest of your community as well. And when you see something that seems weird, say something to someone so that we can do something with that information.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The a lot of the young adults at this age, they just want to. They're so social. They want to be so connected to people, and they're afraid people are going to get in trouble if they do say something. In reality, as many of you adults know, it's really just about trying to help that peer or that friend or that acquaintance. And so them, unless it's something really egregious, right? But usually, if they're reporting something, then that's when our safety mechanisms and our teams can engage, and we can start looking how we can support this person. So I absolutely agree with that. Of That's that community or shared safety responsibility where we're doing it with on the employee side as well, right? If someone is struggling with domestic violence, let someone know so we can support them and get them resources. So.
Yeah, you don't know if the person submitting doesn't know if it's the first report or the 10th report, and both are key pieces of information that help us when we are working towards resolutions with people and trying to support them in what they need. So never assume.
Yes, thank you both so much. That's very critical piece of advice. And parents and families on this call, we encourage you again to have this conversation with your student. We know they might not be as receptive, because again, they do think Duke might be a bubble or it might be kind of uncomfortable, but these are great little icebreakers to already start having that conversation with your student now, because like Captain Stott said, it is a new place for many of them and for you as well. So you want to make sure they feel as comfortable as possible once they get here in a few weeks. So with that and kind of navigating that conversation, family members with their students about safety and support, what do you all as the experts, what would you advise family members to kind of tell their students? It could be what ways you all maybe partner with families, maybe common questions that students kind of often come to you and you think it would be great if family members knew this information so they could go ahead and start that conversation with their students now.
I'll start, and I hope we can piggyback off each other and go a little back and forth on this one. But I feel like from our space, we look at parents as definitely partners in when students are in crisis. You will often there are a lot of times you will hear from our team because we prefer to partner with you when we are supporting students in moments of need, particularly as it relates to mental health crises, or if there's a physical health incident that will result in notification as well. But we look to you as partners in your students' safety and well-being on campus, and at home. So we would hope that there could, when needed, when needing to navigate that we could look to you as people that we can work with to come up with the best solutions for our students in need. Um, like we've already, some of the common questions we hear is, when should I be concerned as it relates to students? If their behavior seems to be changing, if they seem to be withdrawing in different spaces, if it if you are hearing from them less, that's a point to maybe, sometimes it's just they're hanging out with their friends. I'm sure Stotts will say they get a lot of outreach that's not necessarily necessary. But if it feels like an odd behavior to you too can submit a Duke Reach report on a student. We welcome that, and that is points of information for us. So I think also paying attention to, do the habits seem different than when my child was home as well, I think is important.
Yeah, and I think it's always fascinates me because there's our country is so big and people come from so many different places. Matter of fact, they come from around the world to Duke, and the perception of resources as far as the administration at Duke or Duke Police. I would say never be afraid to call. Let your student know. Never be afraid to talk to someone. Specifically, I remember a story of a father that was moving his children in, and he was a retired NYPD cop. And they saw a homeless guy that was trying to solicit him off campus. And he's like, but we don't need to bug you with that. And I was like, no, like you don't, like some agencies, yes, they're very busy. Don't hesitate to call, big or small. If a student is locked out of their dorm, their card's not working, their phone's not working, their keys aren't working, I mean, that's a safety concern. If they're standing out by themselves at night, call. We'll have a security officer come and stand with them while we're trying to resolute the situation, get them a new access card. So big or small, we're here to support our students.
Yeah, I think I would also add, like, just a reminder for your students that it's not always going to be easy, the courses and things that they're taking, right? Like they're supposed to be challenged. And I know for a lot of them, it probably that this may be new that some of these courses might be hard and difficult, but like because it's challenging doesn't mean that they can't do it. So like we also are trying to build resilient student leaders, right? So we would hope that you can help us by letting them know that just because it's hard and it's challenging, it doesn't mean that you don't have resources that can help you or people here that are willing to help support you getting to, getting to the next step, getting to the next course, getting through the course load. There are lots of mechanisms and people that can be connected with in different moments to help support, a student in their work here.
Well,
So
and that's going to reduce their stress too, because half the time they're stressing out because they've got this final due, they've got this research paper due. They don't realize there's academic allowances, that there's opportunities to mitigate and work through problems. And one thing I've always appreciated about Duke is all the layers of resources and support
yeah,
that we have here. So.
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you both. You all have named many, many resources, and I'm sure there are still many out there that parents and families, your students, will still discover once they get here, and you might as well, with your time interacting in those conversations with your students. So what if a parent or family member is kind of concerned about their students' well-being and safety? But of course, if their student has already moved on to campus, they might not be able to reach them. What resources are available, or what would the two of you recommend? How would they go about that, trying to reach out to their student?
I I'll say there's formal ways that you can do outreach, but also I keep naming it, but it's because it's our mega resource. You can reach out to our office. You can submit a Duke Reach report. Those things will trigger us to start checking in, right? Like if we get a report saying that there's some concern about a student, we're going to reach out to the student potentially if that feels appropriate. We're going to check in with their academic dean to see like how they're doing in their work, to see if there's something there that we should be aware of. We're going to start talking to people to see if there's more information. We might not tell you that, right? Like that, the specifics of what we of what we're hearing, but know that behind the scenes we are doing checks and trying to engage with the student. And sometimes if students are not as responsive, they might get a knock on the door from someone from our team or residence life that is going to lay eyes on them to ensure that they are good to go. And if they're not good to go, to work with them on that too. So we are, it is very important for us, and I hope you hear, at least from this mechanism, that like if we get outreach like that, we are pursuing and evaluating and checking in on our students to see that they are, well, to figure out what they need, what's going on.
Yeah, hey Tira, I never understood that meme where the person's looking at their phone and they're eating chips and they're like watching my student while they're at college. Until my son went to college, I'm always checking where his phone's at. But I know that we actually do a number of wellness checks. Not hearing from your student because they didn't text back with the, 5 minutes from now, right? Like, but we understand if it's been a couple days and you're used to talking to them at the end of every day, or if it's been a week and you're used to talking to them at the end of the week, if it's different and seems unsafe to you, just check. The RC goes, either the RA or the RC. We have adults living in the dorm. They're called residence coordinators. And then, of course, we have the student residence support. They'll go and knock right on their door and say, "Hey, oh, my battery was low. I forgot to call, mom or dad." And then if it's elevated or even more concerning, our officers, they do those checks as well, 24/7. They check in. If the RC says, "I can't get them now," then we'll start that next level of checking card access history and what other kind of safety support things we can do to see where they're at, how they're doing. So, yeah.
Perfect. And I know parents and families, you all might have a lot of questions for our two experts tonight on the call. So feel free to go ahead and use that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. But before we get to that, do either of you have kind of any last words or encouragement to parents and families for their student, or tips and tricks that you all think you would like to reiterate to our parents and families tonight?
Yeah, I think I briefly brushed over it, but I do want to talk a little bit more about our Dean on Call. um, system. We have during after hours, after 5 p.m. and on weekends, we have on a weekly basis a dean that is on call to take emergency issues that might be arising, be that, a student that's been transported to the hospital for physical health or otherwise, for the purposes of if, you know, in any number of instances that could be happening in the after hours capacity that will require an emergency response. We have a team member that is on point for that every week of the year for 7 days at a time. In addition to that, there is at least one residence quarter that is on coordinator that is also on call during that period. At high peak seasons, there are more than that are on call, taking calls from east or west based on what the need is. But those folks are available anytime if need be to make sure that folks are supported and notified and updated on what's going on to respond in the evening capacity, be it for visa issues if students are traveling into the country, be it for, if there was the potential for a missing person or a transport or a serious injury, like there's someone that is on point to respond to those instances as they arise.
Yeah, and just to support what you're saying, even when I was a young officer many years ago, we didn't have RCs. I am so thankful about the on-call dean and the on-call RC. Our officers were going into dorms, and they'd only had RAs, and they'd be over the library studying. And nowadays, we've got these on-call deans that are oftentimes like yourself, Tier. I think you run a shift as well,
I
right?
do. I
Yeah.
serve in that capacity.
Yeah. So you're out here after hours,
Yes.
during your on-call state, and our officers actually will respond if it's a more serious type of incident.
Mhm.
It'll be a partnership at the dorm, trying to talk to students or to the student, and even off campus. If there's an incident that's happening or a student gets transported to the hospital, we're helping with a lot of those processes. So that on-call system is such a great resource. I give you cred for that. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, parents and families. I know you might be nervous right now for your students again coming to a new area and for their safety and support. But just hearing that there is that dean on call and somebody who, of course, understands and knows how to respond to emergency and crisis situations, but also knows kind of a little bit more the inner workings of the university and student life and supporting them as a whole student should make you feel definitely more comfortable in case there unfortunately may be an emergency or some support needed for your student. Alrighty, I know parents and families, you always have the best questions. I know you have some. Go ahead and drop them in that Q&A function and we will get started answering some of those live. So for our first one, some of our parents and families are curious. Is there a campus alert system that will notify students if there are dangerous situations, such as an active shooting happening in the area and or on Duke's campus?
Great question. Yep, absolutely there is. So, a lot of the campuses, including Duke, we have the siren system, which has only been used very rarely. I think we used it one time with a tornado warning, and guess what the students did? Instead of staying in the dorm and staying secure, they came out looking for a tornado. So we have the siren system, we have text alert, we have email alerts. On our website, as well as I think it's emergency at duke.edu. They have a way for you or the student or both to sign up. I'm pretty sure there's a link from the Live Safe app I talked about earlier on how to sign up for that. And usually it'll be when we do alerts, it'll be kind of a targeted message. It may be focused towards what's going on and they'll be very limited, but then they'll link to where updates can be found. And so you get a text, you can go to the emergency website and get updates. Fortunately, we haven't had to use it too often, but it is tested, I think, once a month.
That's
And
pretty
yeah,
much.
yes. And so that is an active system that is ongoing and being used. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Captain Stotts. And I know, Tiara, you mentioned this, but I think a lot of parents and families are still very curious and they love to hear more. And I know you spoke to this, like I mentioned, but we have quite a few mentioning they're still a little bit worried if they're unable to reach their child or their student by phone, if it is an urgent situation. So, can you walk us through maybe the reporting that you talked about and also other kind of tips and tricks that you might suggest if there is an emergency with situation? I know you did.
And can I just kind of jump in real
Yeah,
quick? So that our main number, 919-684-2444, if it's like you're saying, a more emergent, someone
call
in the
that.
family has passed, you can call our number 24/7, and
Yeah,
then we can then also contact the Dean on call.
yeah.
But I know there's ways, I think a direct way to call the Dean on call, right? Right, T?
Yeah, there are direct numbers to the dean on call, but our dean on call and our residence coordinator numbers are internal numbers, but your student will have access to the RA number that they can call, not 911 and the not the Duke line as well, depending on where they are in the community. I our from a the most direct way for reporting for us, if it's during business hours, obviously you can call our office. But I would say if it's after hours and it's truly an emergency and that and you're trying to connect with your student, it probably would be to call our
Please. Yeah.
Duke police
Yeah.
line. If it's a little bit less urgent than that, I think submitting a Duke Reach report is another avenue that would get it. There are people and I will say people are even after hours. I read every Duke Reach report that comes in based on my role. So there are people who are monitoring that all the time.
Perfect. Thank you both for clarifying that for our parents and family members. Regarding a little bit of the Duke Alert system, Captain Stotts, is it connected to the city of Durham and the surrounding communities, or is that just a Duke University alert system?
Yeah, so because we have the hospital and we have a trauma one center, and we have a lot going on at Duke, what you'll find is that the local news agencies are monitoring our Duke alert system and our emergency notifications, and I think they're on those alerts. So if it's a serious incident like an active shooter, and we're pushing out the alert, they're getting it and they're also publishing it as well. If you look in the news for any major incident that's happened at Duke, that probably got started with us pushing out the alert. But the news agencies definitely jump on it and add to it locally. But that I think the list we have now is a pretty substantial list. So there's a lot of folks on it, including Durham Emergency Management. And then if it's a large scale incident, we're going to have a multi jurisdictional response with Durham Police, Fire and Safety, and Durham EMS. And so we'll have a joint command center set up, and we'll be notifying and doing coordinated communication to the community as well.
Jonathan, I thought of something that I would share with parents and families, which I'm sure they see this a lot. You probably wouldn't be surprised to see how often people are walking with their heads into their phone and not watching where they're going. A number of the reports we see are people who are having different incidents related to like not watching where they're going, right? Like be it just so being mindful of their surroundings, like Stott said, but like when they're crossing the street and pedestrian accidents and those sorts of things, I think it's really important to be present when they are in different spaces as well, because a lot of accidents are truly that accidents because people are not paying attention to where they are.
No, that's an excellent piece of advice, Tiara. Being present, looking around the situation, being an active listener as well, understanding your surroundings.
I'm guilty too of like walking head down. I think Stotts has said that to me walking downstairs before, so I am equally as guilty.
I'm sure we all are. I'm right there with you on that one. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, Captain Stotts, but just want to confirm with you. We have some parents and family members asking that if you all's number is shared directly with students, and various communications throughout emails.
Yes, and I'm not currently involved with the setup of the orientation and the training, but we will have our crime prevention officers out during freshman move-in, and we push it out in multiple different ways. Our prevention officers are meeting with the RCs and doing in-dorm communication. We push it out, and I think Student Affairs pushes out a lot of our information as well in the communication to the students. So I would be surprised if they're not getting it from multiple sources. Matter of fact, when I go to do crime prevention talks, I'll do a survey. How do they know how to get a hold of us? And they're all like, we've already got it in our phone. Like they get a lot of that. Now, if it's one of those things where a student hadn't got it and forgot and dialed 911, Durham Police knows right away to connect with our communication center, and our officers get dispatched. So there is a fail safe. Like if they call 911, it's not going to go like a really big city into a big rotation. Durham's very responsive and will then also notify us as well.
Jonathan, I don't think I'm overstep. I believe an email is going out very soon that's going to have a lot of emergency information to incoming students. Am I correct in saying that? That would more than likely include that.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. You're right. That information actually went out today to students. Some of them may be receiving it now. It's just important resources for Duke students.
Did you
Um,
just click the button and send it?
That could have been behind our scheme, but no.
Okay.
All of these wonderful resources that Captain Stotts and TR have been talking about, your students should have received an email, or they will by the end of day today, with that information. So we encourage you to support them. Make sure they're reading their emails, but also giving them that independence and autonomy as well. Because of course they are adults and they'll be having to figure it out, not on their own, because we have lovely experts like Tierra and Captain Stotts here, in our office on campus, but it is a good learning experience for them. So encourage them to read that email.
I'll also plug, I'm pretty positive with their orientation leaders and their RAs, they will, in their first meetings, more than likely be given all of those resources as well, like as a reminder of like, put that police number in your phone right now. So there will be multiple opportunities for that.
Absolutely. I'm not seeing any more questions in our Q&A, so parents and family, this is your last chance. I would love to close us out, because while we have our experts here, I'm curious. I know a lot of parents and families, of course, they have demonstrated a lot of concern regarding safety and support, when sending their student off. We totally understand. But how would you tell parents and families that they could still encourage their student, Um, to be safe and have that support while encouraging their independence, as new to Duke students, as new college students? What would be your recommendations for those parents and families?
Yeah, I think the thing what there's you're getting to know people at Duke, and you're exposing yourself to Duke, and you're getting to know the facilities and the locations, but get to know the offices here. There's so many great opportunities to engage. One of my favorite things is when a student comes to me and they start a research paper or a project. We had three very bright undergraduate students that were doing a study on resources for stalking and harassment. And I think there's a video online that they put together. And it just, not just being aware of your safety for yourself, but engaging in the idea of safety for your community, and just having that safety mindset.
Yeah, I think I would just uh, remind this group and reminder to the students that, you have an entire community that's invested in your success here. And, don't waste that. This is Duke is offering an amazing opportunity that if our students choose to invest in, there are endless possibilities of what they can get out of it. And there are so many people here who care very deeply about students. And if people are looking to get connected, there are a number of ways that they can do so. So it they should not get discouraged if their first attempt is not, where their people are. There are student organizations here, there's their XO, there's their hall, there are other spaces across campus. There's just so many opportunities to figure out how to create that sense of home here. And we want students to feel that way. We want them to feel like that we are their home away from home. And we deeply value you as parents helping us to support them, and we hope that we can be partners as they navigate their 4 years here.
I love that. You heard it here first, parents and families. We want Duke to feel like they're home away from home. And for many, it might end up feeling like they're home, um, maybe even after their first semester. I know that can be hard and challenging, but that's the kind of community that we strive for here at Duke to make it feel like everybody's represented. They feel like they belong and they feel like they're at home. And I knew y'all were going to have one more question, and y'all did. I love it. So, very last question, Tiara and Captain Stotts. Are there any areas of Durham that students should avoid? We have some parents and families asking about just the local community and the safety aspect.
Yeah, so Durham Police also has a very responsive website, and you can go to their crime mapper just if you really want to go down a rabbit hole. I would say that there's so many great things about the city of Durham. It's a foodie city. It's got
Right.
music and jazz. But whenever you get into the more, if you go to the downtown area, we've got this a couple bars and right off of the bar area. And if you're going by yourself, then your risk does increase slightly. But the irony is when you see students going down there, it's like herds,
Yeah.
packs, right? Like we've all seen it. And so that, I mean, that just magnifies their safety when they're going out in groups. But so, from downtown, from Duke heading towards downtown Durham, your safety it needs to be a little more, your game needs to be a little bit more on. But there's still lots of great things and experiences surrounding Duke. But the farther away you get from campus, you just got to be a little more aware of your surroundings and a little more diligent.
Yeah, I think Stotts really is. I don't have much more to add other than Durham is a very fun place. And I think just like with even though we're a little city, anytime you're in a more urban environment, just be mindful of your surroundings and, don't just be careful. But I would say overall, I've had a very positive experience here as well. I've been here for 12 years and I see something, say something, but I have not experienced that in my time.
I would agree. I love that. Thank you, Captain Stotts and Tierra, for sharing your expertise and wisdom tonight to our parents and families on the call. We hope you're feeling a little bit more secure about the resources regarding safety and support and the local community of Durham here. Like Tierra just mentioned, Durham is a super fun city. There's so many unique things for students to experience, and part of that they will get to experience once they move in during their experiential orientation projects. So they will have a lovely time kind of getting familiar not only on Duke's campus, but within the surrounding community. So we're super excited to have that support there for your students. So they're not venturing out on their own right when they get here. But again, thank you both. And thank you so much to our parents and families. You always show up and have wonderful questions. You know where to find us. I know that we have many wonderful resources and numbers in the chat. We hope that many of them you won't have to use in the event of emergency, but just know that they are here and they are in place in the event of one. So we appreciate you all and we hope to see you next Tuesday. It'll be a different night, but we hope to see you next Tuesday for our transfer or a first year move in and orientation 2026 webinars. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.